It's Thursday again. So I'm well. I think I have an intro by now. Yeah, hi. I'm Sean, librarian, writer, geek. And it's Thursday, so we're taking another look at some games. Another new, well, well, not maybe not super duper popular game. Or at least not one of the more out there games that I've come across, uh, it's public access, and I believe I do a quick check here. The game public access, published by The Gauntlet. That's the name of the company, and I believe they also do. They also publish Brindlewood Bay. If you're familiar with that game, apparently this uses the same rules system, based on the Brindlewood Bay rules. So, actually, here let me actually open up the chat, and I will actually drop a link. Yeah. It's on Drive. It's on Drive Through RPG, so you can obviously find it and it's it int. I don't exactly know well, but I guess before I really get into, I would describe this as kind of Twin Peaks meets Candle Cove. Specifically, the Candle Cove creepypasta story. I have yet to actually see that. Apparently, it was the the creepypasta story Candle Cove was adapted into like the first season, or at least the first season of the sci-fi anthology, the anthology series on Sci-Fi Channel after they changed their name to Sci-Fi. It The show Channel Zero. Apparently, they based the first season on that, which, hey, that's very cool and all, and unfortunately, I did not see it. I have not seen it. I really kind of want to see it because I have read the story, and the story's really good and really creepy, and very creepy, very interesting. But anyway, I guess before I get into what all of this is about, I kind of feel like I need to explain like why this interested me in the first place, and why I, looking at it and seeing it in my recommendations on Drive Through RPG, I was like, maybe I should pick this up. So like about 15-ish years ago, like 2007, 2008, around then, I got very into some creepypasta stuff online, if you know what I mean. Like specifically like Marble Hornet, Slenderman, and Marble Hornets, that kind of thing. And I just, you know, I watched a lot of stuff like that. Some of it of a lot of Slenderman stuff. Some of it of very questionable quality. I will admit that. There's a good bit of stuff out there that was like, right, this is. It's like, oh, this is, looking back, it's like, oh, this is just not good. This is just not a good show. This is not as good as you think. Everybody's trying to do, and whatever. But, yeah. Anyway, but that kind of got me into, found footage and analog horror, which is like it's weird, creepy videos and stuff, weird, creepy stuff, usually on, either videotapes or like cassette tapes, that kind of thing, and it just has this, it has very generally tends to be like, okay, well, we found, it's found footage, found audio, found whatever, it that kind of thing where it's like, oh, okay, right, this is old and there's some mystery built around it because it's we found it somewhere and it's very cool and it's very strange and odd and you know I really like that. I really got very into that and I still very much enjoy that kind of stuff, which again is why I picked this up. So I don't know, how do I explain this? But and I don't know. I'm still very into that kind of stuff. Like the especially when it comes to like horror. That's honestly my preferred kind of genre for horror. I really liked. Oh God, what? Go away. But like I really enjoyed stuff like the Magnus Archives podcast and other kinds of podcasts where it's like was it like Archive 81, generally in a lot of these, a lot of this stuff where for at least a little while I enjoyed Welcome to Night Vale, though I think Welcome to Night Vale kind of, I don't know, after a while that kind of got very boring and I don't know, I got tired of it, but that's me. But anyway, it's it the creepy, again, it's the found footage version of audio where it's like, okay, right, this is there's no narrator, there's no or there there's no outside narrator. All of this is happening. It's all happening in world. Everyone's aware of the is or possibly it might be aware of whatever is recording this, that kind of thing. And you know, because of that stuff, I don't know. I saw this and I thought, hey, I should pick it up, and I did. And this is unfortunately another one of those games that I have not personally played, but I have actually seen it in action. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my browser yet again. I'm pulling up my browser yet again. There is the creator of the game, lead writer, designer. Please stop freaking out. Uh, pause video. The lead writer, whatever, designer, whatever, Jason Cordova. He actually has a not super long. It's only 11 videos. Okay, 11 videos as of about a week ago, and I think they're actually getting close to the end actually. So but anyway, nope, nope, I just lost it. Okay, but there's a link to the playlist for the actual play series. They've got 11 episodes up right now. Each of them, they're 3 hours, maybe. Usually less. Usually, most of them seem to be closer to 2.5 hours. But I understand if that seems a little long. But hey, it's a prime example of, hey, here's the game, and here's how it's supposed to look, and here's it being played and that kind of thing. So, you know, if you get bored, if you get bored of me reading through the description of stuff, and go like, I actually want to see how this works. Check it out there. And he actually linked to, I think, the first episode of that on his on the Drive Through RPG page. So it's two other ways to find it. Anyway, I'm babbling. I've been talking enough about other stuff. Let's actually get to the game. Let's actually take a look at the game. Okay. Ugh. All right. Can I get a little more? Huh? Maybe. I don't know. My lighting setup is all weird. All right. So should I do it a little bigger? I guess. I don't know. But so yeah. Again, we have the lovely cover, which I like. I think this is very cool. It very much kind of conveys the vibe of the game. It's like, okay, it's this grainy, kind of pixely, old. The font is absolutely the kind of font you'd see on like an old VCR or old TV from the 80s, 90s, that kind of stuff. And the footage is kind of grainy and pixelated, but you can still see like, okay, this person, it's like, okay, this looks like a weird distortion, and is that what's going on here? And I don't know, something weird is happening with that, and it's just odd. I like it. And yeah, going through the design, the graphical, we'll say sure. The graphic design is in this book is just, it is amazing. It is very cool. It's very neat, very evocative. It's another one of those books that does a really, really good job. Just potentially setting the mood and setting the tone as you're reading through it. Okay, yeah. One thing I don't like about the PDF, and I think you can only get it in PDF. You can't get it. There's no print run that I'm aware of, at least. Is that the content? It's not a linked PDF. It's not an indexed PDF. You can't. There's no pop-out list of so you can click ahead down to different chapters or whatnot. You can't click on any of this. It's all and I don't like that. I kind of like because I've made RPG stuff. I've made stuff like this, and it's not impossible. It's potentially not even that difficult to do, to properly index a file and make it a linked PDF. It's not, I feel like it's not that difficult, but then again, this is not even text. This is literally just, I don't know. This is literally just an image. So maybe that's the problem. Who knows? But I still think they could have had like a content thing in here, and I don't know. Maybe there's a new updated edition and I haven't checked, but whatever. Anyway. Okay, so here again we have the basic premise of public access. So, in the game, all the players, members of the group. So, okay, it takes place in 2004. It's kind of important that it takes place in the early 2000s because for reasons regarding stuff. All the name of the group, the players are the Deep Lake Latchkeys. And I guess, I don't know, if you're not old enough to know that, I admit I'm not old enough to have known this, but I feel like I'm like right on the cusp of when this would have been, in, I'm like I'm like maybe like half a generation removed from who would be playing from who these characters in this game would be. Like, they're like the characters in this game were all born, all like grew up in the late '80s, early '90s, and I was born in the late '80s. So, like, right, this takes place in 2004. So I would have been like a sophomore or a June. This would have been this takes place the summer of 2004, which would have been the summer between my sophomore and junior years of high school. So I'm probably about like 10 years younger than what these characters would be, but who cares? Anyway, so yeah. Basically, the characters are all kids who grew up in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s and lived for at least some amount of time in the town of Deep Lake, New Mexico. And in addition to other things, Deep Lake, New Mexico was apparently home to a really odd TV state, local TV station that was called TV Odyssey, and there's a whole mystery. There's a whole lot of weirdness around TV Odyssey. There's a lot of questions about what happened there, like, and the whole point is that okay, you're going like it's a lot of weird. TV Odyssey showed a lot of weird shows, and then apparently like one day in like the early 90s it just literally just kind of disappeared, and nobody and people in town won't talk about it, and there's hello, oh no, internet being a jerk, that's it. Thanks. So that stinks, Valerie. But hey, if you're like at least a few years older than me, does the term latchkey kid mean anything to you? Do you know what that means without having to look it up? I'm sure Mur does, but oh well. Anyway, so right, characters in public access, right? The Deep Lake latchkeys, all kind of become. They all watched as a child living in Deep Lake, New Mexico. All watched stuff on the TV Odyssey channel, TV Odyssey, and coming back to it years later, it's like, huh, wow, I remember that was wow, that was such a weird show, and oh yeah, this is actually a thing. This isn't. I didn't dream that. That wasn't some weird thing I imagined as a kid, but yeah, I guess yeah, delving more into it and blah. Okay, so yeah, again, so yeah, it's public access. The game is set in the non-existent town of Deep Lake in Degolla County, New Mexico. It is a tiny little town, but apparently a excuse of why people might come here is that hey, wow, there's a lake, and it's New Mexico, so it's a reason to go somewhere. Into explaining players, yeah, group of people who met on an internet forum, the early internet forums of the early 2000s. Woof. Yeah, spent early part of their childhood in the 80s and early 90s. He's in Deep Lake. They were latchkey kids, which, okay, if you don't know what a latchkey kid is, this was apparently a thing in like the 80s and 90s where it's like, okay, mom, dad, whatever. The parents are working. The parents have jobs, so the kids come home from school and are, and they have a key to the house or the apartment or whatever, so they can let themselves in, and but they're essentially on their own for a couple of hours until the parents get home. So that's a latchkey kid. Uh, but anyway, getting back to our Deep Lake latchkeys. Yeah, we're and are fascinated with TV Odyssey, but they've only met recently and gave themselves the nickname the Deep Lake Latchkeys, and they have decided the summer of 2004 to rent a house, explore the town, really dig into the town of Deep Lake, and finally figure out what's up and what happened to to TV Odyssey, the station. And admittedly, here's the thing that makes me hesitant to try this with my personal group. And it's not, a lot of the weird stuff that happens here that's in this game, that's fine. Even horror stuff, that's fine. It's the, childhood trauma. Also, each suffered a terrible trauma in their childhood. I don't know if I'd want to do that with my group. Because that's on a different level. This is definitely one of those games where it's like, okay, if you're gonna run this and you're gonna play this, you need to be like totally open about what this game is about, what you might potentially run into, all of that stuff, and like have like very safety rules and whatnot for playing. 100% need to absolutely be there and absolutely be enforced because yeah, thinking, hey, childhood trauma is not the kind of thing most people want to dig into in their game time. It's not something a lot of people find fun, potentially. So anyway, they're establishing rented a house, gonna spend the summer there, figure out what happened to TV Odyssey, and as well as a bunch of other mysteries surround it that happen to be quite let's just say there's a lot of mysteries in Deep Lake. There's a reason I would describe this. One of the touchstones I use for this is Twin Peaks. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in this town. There's a lot of mysteries. There's a lot of strange goings on that may or may not be connected to whatever it is we're actually looking at. All right. And getting a little bit about TV Odyssey. Sorry, I'm fiddling with something on my phone real quick. Okay. All right. So, a little more information about TV Odyssey. And again, all of this is in the player section, so, I don't feel bad about sharing any of this. Oh, hello. Uh-huh. Okay. That sounds like a you problem, whoever. I don't know who you are, but yeah, there's a guy in a white blood-stained hoodie outside. You might want to deal with that. Don't ask me for help. Anyway, so the TV Odyssey, a public access TV studio. Not surprised. rising on Channel 94. So it basically met covered it covered the main town of Deep Lake and other towns in the county. It was basically, apparently it was like, yeah, they will let anybody who lives in the county can set up a time in a channel, set up some time and films, get some studio time and film their stuff, and and aired a bunch of weird low budget stuff, including Happy Jack the Lumberjack and Friends, Voyages to the Astral with Lunaria Gomez, Poetry Slam, Gastronomica, and Daily Affirmations with David Tilbert. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. High quality stuff, I'm sure. And apparently, again, per the story of the game, the station literally physically disappeared in 92. Like, it just suddenly wasn't there. And the official story is that it burned to the ground despite there being no actual evidence for that. But, and even so, like, yeah, people in Deep Lake, they are not going to talk about it or any of the shows that were on it. And if you do try and convince, they don't talk about it. It's weird. And even if you bring them actual proof that yes, this channel existed, yes, this stuff was real, they're just gonna say, "Nah, okay, yeah, I heard. Oh yeah, I heard about that place. It burned down in '92. Whatever." But as with all such things, there is of course some weirdness, and this is the first real taste of the weirdness. So, there are tapes of some of the shows that were aired on TV Odyssey, the so-called Odyssey tapes, and they're VHS tapes, which is part of, why this has to be set. Another big part of why this has to be set in 2004, because if you tried to have VHS tapes today, it's like, yeah, nobody would be able to do no one would be able to watch VHS tapes today. Hey, you'd have to actually go out and search for a VCR. Whereas, like, hey, 2004, that's like, you might still be able to find a VHS player. You might even have one of those combo DVD VHS tape things. But right, so Odyssey tapes, recognizable by distinctive purple clamshells, fancy, paper inserts depicting Dayglow pyramids and Torii gates, very vaguely mystical stuff. Extremely rare, great value, but somehow our protagonists managed to get one. So, that's important to note, because that stuff can happen. And of course, yeah, we do get, even the makers of the game are like, yeah, okay, here's some of the stuff you can expect to find. Cosmic horror, graphic violence, ritual sacrifice, etc. But more importantly, other things that might come up, like sexism, sexual desire, childhood trauma, consumer culture, etc. These are heavy topics that some folks might be like, you know what, that's kind of heavy. That's a little heavy. I want to play something a little less serious. Let's play something more fun, something that won't leave me asking I don't want to play something quite so serious. So hey, and again, lovely, wonderful artwork. Very much sets the mood, sets the tone. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh god, the graphics are just woof. All right. So I mentioned this before, but public access is from the same people who made Brindlewood Bay, and uses a number of the same rules. So it's that kind of I think it's a sort of powered by the apocalypse thing in that, you know, you take the dice, you roll that when you do need to roll dice. You know, it's very free. When you need to roll, you take like two dice, roll them, add a number, try to get a certain value. And again, most of this stuff, it's like actually, it's a lot. There's a lot less rolling apparent intention by design. By design, there's a lot less rolling until it's like, okay, would this, you do a thing, you go on until finally you trigger a move, which we'll kind of get to in a bit. But it's like, right, it's not a move where it's like, okay, this is actually maybe important or potentially. There are actually, I did not mention this, but there are a number of pre-written mysteries to go with the game. So it's like, okay, if you trigger, someone tries to do this, okay, now we do the move. Like, actually, let me pull up like one of the ones that they seem to treat as like sort of the starting one. The house on Escondido Street. Can you even see this? Yes, you can see this. Okay. Is there anything? Okay, maybe not. All right. So, but yeah, you go on and on until finally, you're going along, no problems, essentially doing whatever until you finally, do something that where the keeper, GM, whatever, decides, okay, this is actually going to require a move. And so at that point, you roll, and then you roll the dice. You add a number. You've got 5. Yeah, there's 5 abilities. You add one of your abilities to the roll, and again, it's vitality, which that's all your physicalness. It's your physical stuff. Composure is basically keep your cool, focus, keeping your cool, maintaining focus. Reason is basically doing thinking stuff, all that. Presence, and again, I like that. I always appreciate it when they use terms like presence instead of charisma, because like, okay, presence is social stuff where it's like, okay, this can also be it's your ability to capture and manipulate people around you, attention, feelings, that kind of thing. Your ability to sway a crowd. And finally, sensitivity, which is basically dealing with weird supernatural stuff. All right. And again, you roll 2d6. You generally want to get 2d6, add your relevant modifier. Ideally, you want at least a 10 or more, but a 7 or higher will at least get you something. Advantage and disadvantage, these are fairly straightforward. Advantage means, hey, roll 3d6, keep the 2 highest. Disadvantage, roll 2d6, keep the 2 lowest. What can trigger advantage? Something can set up advantage is either a move somehow gives you advantage, like, hey, somebody set up did another thing and you're bouncing off of that, or You're using something from your corner of the house, which is a part of your sheet, and it's kind of like an inventory. Again, we'll get to that. Disadvantage is you have a condition, which you don't have health in this game. You have condition. You get conditions, and you can only get so many conditions before things get bad. And alternatively, the keeper just says like, I think it makes sense that you would have disadvantage on this. Advantage and disadvantage cancel each other out. So if you have both, technically, you just roll straight. I don't. They don't stack. So like. So don't try to get advantage. If you already canceled out a disadvantage, you can't get more advantage. Something. But even if you do fail on a roll, you can still fix that. Because the players, there's a special thing. I should actually pull up the character sheet again. This is pulling this up just to show it off a little. It's all right. We mentioned your corner of the house. That's but something the players, the latch keys, the Deep Lake latch keys. They have something that potentially allows you, as a player, you are special, and you have a thing that basically lets you lets you potentially, or at least for a limited number of times, bump up your roll by one level. So like a failure turns into a miss, becomes a partial success becomes a regular success becomes an exceptional success, or whatever they called it, whatever the term is. I don't know if they have terms for it. And those are called keys, and they are on your sheet. There's two types of keys, the key of the child and the key of desolation. We'll get to those in a bit again, but the thing is, you only have so many. And if I were doing this in the hypothetical situation where I was running this and it gets into this thing happens, like, okay, I as the keeper describe, okay, the player fails the roll, I describe what happens as whatever I describe the thing happens, and the player goes, okay, you know what, I'm going to turn a key, and it's going to turn one of my keys, and I go like, okay, okay, video pauses, and then suddenly it's like rewind back to before this happened, and now something else happened. I don't know. It'd be something that's how I would do it. So it's just kind of, I think that'd be cute. Okay, moves in general. You get the game is generally organized into more or less, there's two major phases, day and night. And day is like, okay, you go around, you usually get your day move, whatever there, and then you get the night move. Please don't start singing. But okay, so right, we got there's actually 5 moves. Okay, day move, night move, there's a meddling move, a nostalgic move, and answer a question. Day move is, it's doing stuff. Doing something risky and whatnot. Not during the day. And during the day, things are actually are more safe, at least. Maybe not as safe as they could be, but maybe not totally safe, but Big thing is like, you know, you roll a 7 to 9. It's like, okay, the keeper will describe what happens, and you can base it, and you as the player can decide, okay, you know what? I don't like where that's heading. I don't like this thing happening. I don't want to deal with that consequence or whatever. So we're just going to say, you know what? Never mind. And it's like, okay, cool. The night move, on the other hand, yeah, things, not surprisingly, things are a bit more dangerous at night. Things get a little more tense. Stakes are a little higher. And big point, you make a move and you get a 7 to 9. It's like, okay, yeah, you maintain course, but something happens. Something happens. There's a cost to that. There's a things. You do the thing, but there's a price, and you just kind of have to accept that, or you turn a key. In which case, good job. Yeah. Again, nighttime is more dangerous. So yeah. Meddling move is yeah. Scooby Doo, meddling kids. You're doing that thing. Look for a clue. Looking for clues. However that happened. And maybe you actually find the clue. Maybe you find the clue and some other stuff, or maybe there's a complication. And finally, last thing, the nostalgic move. Nostalgic move is basically, this is how you clear conditions. Is you take time out of your day to wax nostalgic about a thing. About something from your childhood in the late 80s / early 90s. And you might also get a clue in the process of doing that. Not entirely sure how that works out, but that's not for me. That's not for the person running the game to decide. That's up for the players to figure out. Yeah. So hey, I don't know. That's at least interesting because there's no health bar. There's just conditions, and I think it can only take up to like 3. And last one is answer a question, which again, this is a game about solving mysteries. So again, loving game deliberately emphasize character and actions like this. Yeah, it's really nice. The stuff I linked to an actual play earlier that's run by sharing intimate moment. Yeah, it's specifically like about nostalgia stuff from the 80s and 90s. Sorry, I'm jumping over to the character sheet, but one of the things on your sheet is like, okay, what's the stuff that takes you back? And there's just so many things. There's things that I'm like, okay, I know I'm a little too young for some of this, but I definitely remember it. I know at least some of these. And some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of it's just, it's weird stuff. Prank phone calls, the garbage pail kids, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Who killed Laura Palmer? Walkmans, the Care Bear stare. Choose your own adventure, easy bake oven. And there's some very cool, fun, neat stuff, and admittedly as examples. And then there's also some weird kind of you know, really sad, depressing stuff like where was I saw it? I just saw it. I swear, I know it was in here. Like you know, Waco. Yikes. Uh, the L.A. riots. Yikes. The day after. Good lord. Uh, yeah. Space Shuttle Challenger. Yikes. And let me see. There's one more I know that I was like, okay, here we go. Artax in the Swamp of Sadness. Like, oh my god. Who? It's like, why would you do that? What does that say about you as a person? But yeah, it's definitely definitely focusing on like player interactions and that actually benefits you as a player and at playing through the game. But finally, answer the question. So, as you go throughout the go about solving various mysteries, you find too soon. It's which one? Which one specifically? Or all of them, because admittedly all of them is like, wow, that's yikes. Too soon. It will never not be too soon. That is fair. Yeah. Never not too soon. Anyway, so answering your question. As you go about solving the mystery. Our text, yeah. Oof. Yikes. Yikes. Sorry, brief tangent. I know I saw a photo of somebody at Dragon Con at some point, and it's like, okay, they're dressed up as Atreyu, and they have just a horse's head, kind of like obviously a fake horse's head, but it's like, okay, just sit down, kneel down. It's like, and it's just like, oh, like why? They like set it on the ground and just kneel in front of it and just be all devastated. And it's like, just why? Why would you do that? What is wrong with you? Okay. But all right, finally. So, answering your question. And so, each mystery has a complexity level, and you need to have at least half of the whatever the mystery's complexity includes gathered before you can even try to solve it. Because it's like, okay, cool, you roll the 2d6 plus the number of clues you have minus the complexity. So I think like some of these are like let me pull up one of the actually let me pull up this first mystery. Okay, so like so the house on Escondido Street, which is kind of a starting one. It's like, okay, it has a complexity of 6. So that means before anyone can even try to answer the question of what happened to the family that lived in this house, they need to gather at least 3 clues, and then the players can kind of get together and sort of chat and figure out what do we think the answer is, what do we think the explanation is, blah blah blah, and then roll. Roll, add the number of clues, subtract the complexity, and could be It's like, hey, you get a hit, cool. You do that and you get an opportunity, or so you obviously want more clues is obviously better because that means avoiding danger. And I mentioned the big man. I think this is the first mention of the big man. The big man is again, he's one of those little peeks into the weirdness of the game. The weirdness of Deep Lake and around TV Odyssey and all of that. It's there's he's he's again, going back to Twin Peaks. He's what, like, I think, oh god, there's like that again, there's that really, it's like, right, it's one of the weird, it's one of these weird, he shows up and he's always around weirdness, but or like there's a weirdness about him. And and there is no actual canon answers to whatever the question is. It's whatever the players decide is the answer, and if they roll high enough, that becomes the answer. And answer a question move is always done as a straight roll. You can change the result by turning a key, but if you're going to turn a key, everybody has to turn a key. I think it all has to be the same key, or maybe, I don't know. Okay, right. I have the character sheet, which I've kind of been jumping back and forth between, some of the stuff. Okay, style. I want to just take a minute to look at the style, because again, this is not necessarily all this stuff is, like this and the takes you back stuff. It's not necessarily like binding, but it's, I don't know. Some of this stuff just sounds like really fun. Fine, just it's like, yeah, okay, that sure. Like cargo shorts and Triforce T-shirt. None more goth. Uh, you know, all the scarves. It scarves, hoodie under blazer, matching sneakers. It's like, right, you're a 20-something kid in 20. You're a 20-something year old, someone in your early 20s in 2004. So go accordingly. And they do it. And going a little more into the takes you back stuff again. That's also not. It's not necessarily that thing specifically, but it could be stuff associated with that. So I guess, Artax could be like, oh yeah, those, Artax specifically could be like, oh yeah, those really dark moments in these movies that are supposed to be for kids. I guess. I don't know. I'm reaching here, but it's ostensibly some of these movies. There's like some surprisingly dark stuff in here. It's weird. Sorry, I'm. Okay. All right. And okay. So most of the stuff is fairly straightforward. Ability. Abilities, various conditions. You can only have up to 3 conditions at a time before things start to happen. something happens that would cause you to take a fourth condition. You instead have to turn a key. So that, and again, you only have so many keys you can turn. And those are like those are your improve your results. So that's potentially a big sacrifice there. Especially if you do the key of desolation, because that one gets really serious. Right below, in the middle, there's the dawn questions, which is, that's essentially like start of the session, more or less. Assuming each session is like a day. So, dawn questions is like, right, you set out and say, okay, here are the questions I want to answer. Or the things I want to do. And, every time you answer yes to one of these questions at the end of the day, you get a point. You get 1 point of experience, and when you get 6 experience, you get an advancement. Yay! So that's just something you definitely want to be thinking about, and it's potentially a guide for like what you want to do, what you want to do during the session. Like, so share a good memory from your childhood. Again, share a good memory from your childhood is, that's potentially reason to, do the nostalgia thing. Yeah. There's several of these. Some of them are like, I honestly didn't notice what deliver a chilling monologue about something that happened to you in the past. That's yikes. That's a bit of a yikes there, but okay. Again, XP tracker already pointed that out. Advancements, yada yada. Okay, latchkey moves. This is a special thing. These are, so you have basic moves, but every one of the main characters has their own special latchkey move, and it's a way to personalize stuff. And I'll take a quick look at some of these, and again, these are very cute, very funny. Like sight beyond sight. This is your brain. Knowing is half the battle. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K. I'm sure that's a reference to something, but I don't know what. Dance with the Devil. I'm pretty sure this is the original Batman movie. But yeah. Yeah. The truth is out there. Thank you for being a friend. And a single role related to an action so long as you do it with cockiness or style. Nice. Oh god, just say no. Nice. So, hey, these are things that may, and everybody gets one. No one can have. Everybody gets one, and it has to be unique to. It has to be unique to the player, to that player in the group. So that's a fun thing. So that's kind of neat. Oh. Yeah, Golden Girls reference, and I think actually, I believe, yeah. Well, I mean, they're all references, obviously, but yeah. I believe, thank you for being a friend. When you do nostalgic move, other latchkey can clear a second condition or take the condition feeling good. Yeah, yeah, this whole game is chock full of references. It's like I know I like in my I, announcements for this is like, right, this is the nostalgia fueled horror mystery game. It's it's definitely it's very yeah. It's just it's so very full of nostalgia, and it's kind of great. Anyway, all right. So think okay, corner of the house. All right, so there's that. Okay, so turning a key. So you got two different sets of keys. We have the key of the child and the key of desolation. Those are the main ones. Occasionally, a mystery will include a special key that's on the mystery sheet. The key of the childhood is basically, you know, flashback to something from your character's childhood. Some of them are, you know, doing routine. Some of them are good, some of them are not great. Right, like okay, you know, like we have felt genuine happiness as a child. Routine when you got home from school, but a lot of them are actually kind of like either upsetting or potentially like really weird. Like when you experience childhood trauma, when you realize childhood wasn't forever, showing how you were an outsider among your peers. It's like, yeah, these are, mm, yeah, this gets into some deep stuff, and again, is probably why I would not want to run this game with my regular group. It's not to say I wouldn't run this game, but you know, I definitely want people coming into this with full knowledge of like, okay, this is potentially what you're in for. This is what you wanted. This is a game where you might be exploring that stuff, and you kind of need to be okay with that. So that's the key of the child. The key of desolation is, you know, that's what digging into TV Odyssey and the weirdness around that is doing to your character. And there's a specific order you kind of have to mark them in. And if you check the last one off, your your character is out. You're just out of the game. Like, yeah, no. It gets progressively. It's like the first three are like, okay, that actually makes things interesting, whereas like the last two are like, okay, things got bad. Things are getting bad. Like, you know, yeah, it gets bad. Just gonna say that. It gets rough, or it gets like, okay, that's, hmm. Okay, final thing on the sheet is yeah, your corner of the house, which is uh so yeah, it's kind of an equipment list, but most more in the sense of like let's see. Section also functions equipment list since anything in your corner of the house might reasonably be on your person in a scene. So yeah, you know, it's not necessarily like every little thing you have, but it's like something of note, things of note. And I believe, yeah, and the way they want you're advised to run this is that uh, the other players actually have some influence over, like, you know, they get to say, okay, I think that you would have this in your corner of the house. You know, and you can add more stuff later on, but like, you know, just this is something important. This is obviously something important that you would have, that kind of thing. Okay, play structure. Okay, so, you know, yeah, basically. So I think, yeah, we can might get into okay. So basically, this is how a session of the game goes. Okay, we start with dawn, which mostly which at least generally involves pick your new dawn questions, resolve anything, gather any rewards, resolve prompts that have not been resolved, etc. Again, dawn is upkeep, whatnot. Day, so keeper potentially presents a new mystery, if depending on how many there are. Then we get into just general scenes and switch around between players. Decide what you want to do for the dawn phase. You go around doing your stuff, potentially make a move or two. Then we get to dusk, which is okay. We wrap up what happens during the day, and then the players all decide if they're going to watch an Odyssey tape, and that's where things can branch. And then decide what to do with the night phase, resolve all of other stuff, and either go into go into night phase and make moves, or we get into the Odyssey tape stuff. So, all right. That night phase is basically more or less like day phase, but you can potentially either you can either continue as in day phase, or you can watch an Odyssey tape, because apparently this is another one of those weird things. A little bit of one of those little bits of weirdness is the Odyssey tapes, the TV Odyssey tapes, can only be watched at night, which is weird. Like, I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know if that's actually explained in the rule in the game book somewhere. But I think that's the explanation. Is like, right, for some reason they don't work during the day, or you don't see anything during the day. I don't know. There's something weird about these tapes that you can only really watch them at night, which of course makes them that much creepier. And they're already pretty damn creepy based on just what prompts are provided. And let's see. Odyssey tapes. Odyssey tapes are rare VHS tapes containing individual episodes of programs that aired on TV Odyssey. Small subculture of people who collect the tapes and puzzle over their meaning, particularly as it relates to the mystery of TV Odyssey itself. Deep-late latchkeys are trying to find these tapes for that purpose. As they find and watch more Odyssey tapes, they get closer to learning the truth. And basically, having the getting tapes provides a nice little provides some nice mechanical bonuses, namely the campaign timer. Hey, wow, the more tapes you watch, the faster. The more tapes you watch, the sooner the campaign comes to an end. And night helps to time the night phase, because if you watch an Odyssey tape, the night phase ends after the end of the Odyssey tape. They can potentially provide certain moves and conditions allow them to interact with scenes taking place in Odyssey tapes. Yeah, that's a whole thing. It gets weird. Again, as has been mentioned, the Odyssey tapes are just weird So especially if you've marked your first key of desolation, you have extra incentive to pay attention to, what everybody said, add things to connecting stuff between whatever's going on in the main line and whatever you're seeing on the tape. And again, they're there to be creepy and weird and strange and bizarre and very frightening. It's great. And yeah. And there's a and in the midst of all this, there are supposedly white Odyssey tapes that provide a connection to something called the pure white signal, whatever that is, and which is something that may allow people to contact the other side, which again is all very shrouded in a lot of mystery and strangeness and unclear. Generally not unanswered, but yeah. The last key of desolation is called the pure white signal, and is basically whatever your character is crosses over and is out of play. White Odyssey tape is a regular Odyssey tape, but a character in the prompt is replaced with latchkey retiring from the game. Okay. So anyway, speaking of signals from the other side, yeah. Let's actually get into the Odyssey a little bit into the Odyssey stuff. Okay, and then I guess we'll call it there. All right. So, if you've marked the first key of desolation, which is the sandstone arch, you now unlocked the dawn question: did you receive a signal from the other side? Whatever the heck whatever strangeness that might be. And again, signals from the other side are basically something from an Odyssey tape that then appears or is somehow relevant or somehow connects to whatever's going on in real life, quote unquote, in outside of the tape play. So yeah, sometimes it's that way to sort of, it's blurring the lines of what is reality in the game. So they provide a couple examples, like okay, watching a tape, one of the player describes a kid riding a bright red bicycle, and then later on when they're going into this house, I think someone else decides to include, mentions moving a rusty red bicycle, and the bicycle is a signal from the other side. So it's a market. It's so again, sorry. So marking that off, that first key of desolation is and if you've done that, you definitely want to pay attention to what's mentioned in the what stuff that gets mentioned in when watching Odyssey tapes, because then you get an extra point of experience, or you get at least a guaranteed point of experience every time you bring something like that up. Other examples: player describes the host. Okay, watching an Odyssey tape about a cooking show, and the host is making casserole using SpaghettiOs, and then Later on, looking for a snack, and opens up a cupboard only to find stacks of SpaghettiO cans. That's weird. And then there's something about a serial killer in a bear suit, because that's just the kind of game this is. Yeah, I don't want to get into the keeper stuff, because again, that's not for the players to know. But yeah, if but it's yeah, it's a little early now, but this is I have so yeah, but that's public access by the Gauntlet, again, publishers of Brindlewood Bay. So if you're familiar with Brindlewood Bay, maybe this might be the thing. You should probably have some idea of how this works. Again, I'd like to run this game, or at least run like a session of it, or to run a very short one. I don't know. I might try and do something with it in October. We'll see. I don't know. But again, it's a weird, kind of trippy horror game that I think I don't know. It looks interesting. It's interesting. I've seen it in action. If you scroll up through the chat, you can find a link to an actual play run by the guy who actually wrote the game, as well as a link to TTRPG where you can purchase it. And yeah, that's I don't know. This is an odd game, and I kind of like it, and I like the simplicity of it, and there's a lot to love and a lot to be like, okay, hey, but it not a lot of reasons I might be hesitant to fool around with it. That again, not sure I'd want to run this with my regular group for reasons that's like, this is like getting dark. Does seem neat another car. Yeah, it's very good for It's very fitting again that it makes sense that this kind of thing will be coming out. It's 80s 90s nostalgia is a big thing at the moment, and hey, if you happen to be into that, it might be something worth checking out. But yeah, definitely not for everyone, because not everyone wants to dig into darker aspects of childhood. That's not fun. Again, I personally, I would be less bothered by the weird. I'm not bothered by the weird cosmic horror stuff. I'm bothered by the childhood trauma stuff. That's not fun. That's not fun. That is the opposite of fun. That is not the kind of fun I would like to be having. But again, if I were to run this, I definitely would 100% make sure to be absolutely clear with my players, like, okay, here's what this game is about, here's what you might potentially run into, and also establishing, like, okay, here's stuff I will definitely not include of my is it like getting into like lines and veils, and it's like, this is stuff I'm not going to do. Here's stuff I'm not going to include. Here's stuff I'm not going to mention. And because I don't want to mention that, or at the very least, here's stuff I'm going to put, I'm not going to be, like, here's things I'm just not going to talk about. Well, how am I trying to say this? Here's things I'm not going to show explicitly. Like, here's things I'm not going to have on camera, so to speak. Like, I'm okay with alluding to this stuff. But I don't want to see it. I'm not going to show that, because that's not pleasant, because like this is just, these are my lines, this is the stuff I don't want to deal with, this is the stuff I don't want, that I consider to be not good, not things I want to have in my gaming time. But anyway, like I said, I might want to try and do something with this in October. Who knows? We'll see. I know a little while ago, I think when I actually started my first Thursday looking at game thing, was looking at Tales of the Valiant from Cobalt Press, and they've recently released some creator stuff, tools and whatnot, including like Twitch overlays and whatnot, and I'm halfway tempted to try and get together a group to like actually stream that kind of stuff. Tales of the Valiant, I don't know. No, I'm gonna have to, or I don't know. I'm trying to make plans, and I really shouldn't be making plans, because like I get big ideas and then never actually get into the nitty gritty of doing them. Anyway, that's it for me for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night with Dragon Age. We have finally finished the dwarven portion of the story. There's only the Landsmeet and the end game from here on. I'm debating whether or not I want to do DLC. Or I'm debating whether I want to do DLC now, and if I do, which one. Like, I'm debating whether to do DLC tomorrow, or if I want to do side questing. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. Bye. This will be up on the archives on YouTube. Hopefully Sunday, I think. I don't know. If I'm smart and remember things, it will be live on YouTube on Sunday. So, hey, check it out there. I'm Librarian Writer Geek. Yes, Awakening. I'm obviously going to go into Awakening and other stuff, but it's like, main game, Origins, DLC stuff. That's like, what do I do? When do I do it? I don't know. Anyway, but other than that, I will see people maybe tomorrow. And so, have a lovely night, and bye.